His hand was already beneath my red sundress when the sky cracked with fireworks above us. I felt the fabric of my white panties shift as he curled his fingers against me, hidden between the old oak trees in the farthest corner of our backyard. I was pressed up against Jason's broad chest, my breath hot and tangled with the heat of summer and lust. 10 feet away, my husband flipped burgers at the grill. Kids screamed around the pool. Laughter and music filled the air. But all I could feel was Jason's mouth on my neck and the hunger that had grown inside me for over a year. I was not thinking. I was not planning. I just knew that for the first time in forever, I felt seen. I felt alive. And I knew, even as it was happening, that it was going to cost me everything. To all my incredible subscribers, thank you so much for being here. Your support means more than you know. And to the new and returning viewers who have not yet subscribed, I truly appreciate you stopping by. I cannot wait for you to hit that subscribe button. It is the fuel that keeps this channel alive. Please, make sure to comment below once the story hits you. I want to hear your thoughts, your pain, your truth. Now, let me take you into the fire. My name is Hannah Whitmore. I live in a quiet suburban neighborhood in South Carolina, where everyone waves at each other, the mail always comes before noon, and secrets hide just beneath the sweet scent of magnolias. I have been married for 11 years to David, a man who once held my face in his palms like I was fragile glass, like I mattered. A man who now barely looks up from his phone when I enter the room. David is a war veteran. Stoic. Loyal. The town loves him. He is a sergeant in the local police force and the father of our 2 boys. He protects everyone. Except me. It did not happen all at once. It was not some dramatic fall. Our love faded slowly. Faded like the red on our flag left too long under the sun. At first, I blamed stress. Then I blamed myself. I bought new lingerie. I tried date nights. I tried silence. Nothing worked. David came home and talked more to his gun than he did to me. I became invisible. Except to Jason. Jason Miller had been David's best friend since high school. He was the best man at our wedding. He was a firefighter, rugged and intense, and recently divorced from a woman who had cheated on him with his younger cousin. We reconnected at a neighborhood cookout in late spring. I still remember the way he said my name that night, like it had flavor. Like it had meaning. Over the weeks, Jason started showing up more. Just checking in on David, he said. But David was always distracted, watching the game or scrolling through emails. So Jason and I would sit on the porch, sipping beer and laughing about things I had not even remembered were funny. He noticed everything. The way I twisted my wedding band, the chipped polish on my toes, the dark circles under my eyes. One afternoon, he touched my shoulder and I nearly gasped. That was all it took. That was the moment I knew I had already crossed something inside myself. By the time the 4th of July came, I had not had sex in almost 9 months. David slept like a corpse beside me. Our conversations were dry and obligatory. That morning, I wore the red sundress I knew Jason liked. I did not admit that to myself then, but I know now. I wore it for him. The party was loud and patriotic. Flags everywhere. The smell of grilled meat in the air. I brought out the baked beans and smiled like the perfect wife. But my eyes kept finding Jason. And his kept finding me. At sunset, someone started handing out sparklers. David turned to speak to a neighbor. Jason leaned in and whispered, "Come with me." I did not ask why. I followed him past the garage, through the side gate, into the line of trees near the back of our property. The fireworks had just started. He pushed me gently against a tree and kissed me hard, like he had been waiting his whole life for it. I should have stopped him. I did not. I let him touch me, feel me, claim me with hands that trembled with restraint. My panties slid down one thigh. I moaned into his shirt. It was not love. It was not even lust. It was something else. Desperation, maybe. Revenge. Or just a reminder that I was still a woman, still capable of wanting, still worthy of being wanted. We did not finish. Thank God. A child screamed for their mother, and I jolted back into reality. I fixed my dress, wiped my face, and ran back to the party, hoping nobody noticed. Jason followed minutes later, face red, eyes heavy. We never spoke about it. Not that night. But the guilt did not wait. It hit me like morning sickness the next day. I watched David pour coffee into my favorite mug, the one that says, "Best wife ever," and I wanted to throw it against the wall. I had betrayed a man who did not even know he was being betrayed. But I could not erase the feeling. The heat. The need. Jason had awakened something in me I thought had died. And I knew that was not going to be the last time. Not by a long shot. It started with the silence. Not the awkward kind. The kind that sits on your chest like a cinder block. Jason stopped texting. He stopped dropping by. And when he did show up, like at the community pool or the gas station, he barely looked in my direction. It was like that moment between us had never happened. Like his hands had never been on my skin. Like I was crazy. I was not crazy. I replayed it every night in my head. Not just the touch, but the look in his eyes. He wanted me. I knew it. I felt it. But guilt changes people. I was drowning in it, but at least I was still trying to breathe. Jason had gone under. Disappeared into some space where shame was safer than truth. David started noticing. He did not say it outright, but I saw it in his eyes. The way they lingered too long on my phone when it buzzed. The way he asked me what I was doing, even when I was just folding laundry. The sexless silence between us had turned into suspicion. He would never admit it, not yet. But he felt something was off. Because it was. I was off. I was split into two women. One who smiled and served dinner, and one who had pressed her thighs open for his best friend on Independence Day. Every time Jason pulled away, I pulled deeper into obsession. I thought I could forget, that it was just a moment, a mistake. But I had tasted something too real to forget. I needed to know if it meant anything to him. So I texted him one night after David had fallen asleep. Can we talk? Please. I stared at the screen for nearly an hour. Nothing. I was about to turn it off when the bubbles popped up. Jason, I think it is better if we do not. Better for who? The next day, I saw him at the grocery store. He was in the wine aisle. I walked past him, deliberately. He followed me to the frozen section. We stood there like strangers near the bags of peas. I told you this was a bad idea, he muttered without looking at me. I leaned in close and whispered, "Then why did you do it?" His jaw clenched. Because I was lonely. Because you looked lonely. But that does not make it right. I stepped back, humiliated. Not because he was wrong, but because I had expected more. A confession. A continuation. But not this cold dismissal. I went home and threw up in the downstairs bathroom. It was not pregnancy. It was pain. My body had not betrayed my husband, but my heart had. And now I had nothing. Not even the man I gave my guilt to. 2 days later, David came home early. I was not ready. He walked into the kitchen, his uniform still on, and he dropped a single sheet of paper on the counter. I looked down. It was a printout. A photo. Me and Jason. From the backyard camera. We were not kissing, but my body was angled against him. His hand was too low on my back. My eyes were closed. "You forgot we have surveillance at the side gate," he said quietly. My mouth went dry. "I saw this last week," he continued. I was going to let it go. Thought maybe it was nothing. But something kept itching at me. He looked at me with a strange calm, like a man who had already died on the inside and had nothing left to lose. I needed to be sure. So I followed Jason tonight. He went to the same bar he always does on Thursdays. And he was not alone. I felt my stomach drop. He was with your sister, Hannah. I swear I stopped breathing. He watched me, waiting for the shock to land. It did. And then some. My younger sister, Michelle. She had always flirted with David, but Jason? They had never even spoken much. Or so I thought. I confronted him, David said, voice steady. He told me everything. About the 4th. About the texts. About you. I covered my face. I wanted the floor to open and swallow me whole. I wanted the universe to delete me. He said it was just once, David added. But I do not care if it was once or 100 times. I looked up. His eyes were wet, but no tears fell. You gave him something that was supposed to be mine, he said. And now he is king your sister. I tried to speak. I could not. I need time, he said. I am staying at my brother's for a while. You can explain to the boys whatever lie you think is best. He left. No yelling. No slamming doors. Just the sound of a man choosing not to fight for something that already died. I collapsed onto the floor. Hours later, I called Michelle. She did not deny it. She even had the nerve to sound proud. He said you were obsessed with him, she said, laughing. Said you were suffocating him. I mean, I get it. You have not been happy in forever, hon. I hung up. I lay awake that night with 2 truths. I betrayed my husband. And the man I betrayed him with had betrayed me in return. And yet, I still missed Jason. I still wanted him. That was the sickness. The real betrayal was not in my body. It was in the craving. The next day, I found myself driving to the fire station. I told myself I wanted closure. I told myself I needed answers. But what I really wanted was revenge. Or maybe just a reason to feel alive again. And when he stepped out of the station, sweaty and shirtless, and saw me standing there, he knew why I came. He looked over his shoulder. Then he said, "You should not be here." But he still opened the door and let me inside. I stood in the locker room of the fire station, surrounded by the thick scent of sweat, metal, and something more dangerous, memory. Jason had shut the door behind us. His jaw was tense. His eyes betrayed a war he did not want to fight. But he had already lost it. Just like I had. He did not ask why I came. He knew. I told myself I would scream at him. Curse him. Throw something. But what I did was worse. I begged for the truth. Was any of it real, Jason? He did not answer right away. He pulled off his gloves, tossed them onto the bench, and sat down like the weight in his chest finally won. I stood still, arms crossed, waiting to be lied to. He rubbed his face, then looked at me. It was real. But it was wrong. My throat burned. So you gave me one night, and then you started screwing my sister? He scoffed and looked away. Your sister came to me. I was not chasing her. I was trying to forget what I did to David. And to you. But she kept showing up. I laughed. A bitter, twisted sound. So did I. I showed up too. But you made it harder, he said sharply. You looked at me like I could fix something I did not even know how to carry. There it was. The confession I had waited for. It did not heal. It only deepened the wound. Jason stood up and stepped toward me. You were never invisible to me, Hannah. You were burning. You were dangerous. And I was stupid enough to touch the flame. For a second, just one, I wanted to kiss him again. To disappear into him like a coward. But I stepped back. You are a coward, I said. You wanted the thrill, not the responsibility. And what did you want? He snapped. You came looking for attention, and when I gave it to you, you fell apart. I slapped him. The sound echoed through the room. He did not flinch. I walked out of that fire station with shaking hands and a heart full of molten shame. I was done chasing ghosts. But life was not done with me. When I got home, David was there.